In the serene village of Soma, Amara's dreams of marrying the greatest hunter, Tunde, shatter when he mysteriously disappears on the eve of their wedding. Driven by love and determination, she embarks on a treacherous journey into the dark Aro Mountains, where whispers of ancient curses echo through the trees. As she confronts her own shadow self, a dark reflection of her beauty, Amara must discover whether her allure is a blessing or a curse. With the clock ticking, she races against time to unveil the truth that could save Tunde and heal her fractured spirit. Will Amara embrace her deepest fears and unlock the power of true love before it's too late? Amara stood in the village of Soma, the most beautiful woman in the region, her heart fluttering with excitement. Today was her wedding day, the day she would marry Tunde, the village's greatest hunter. The sun shone brightly, and the villagers were busy preparing for the celebration, filling the air with laughter and joy. Amara felt like the luckiest woman alive, ready to start her new life with the man she loved. She glanced at her reflection in the mirror, admiring her flowing dress and sparkling beads. But deep down, a shadow of doubt lingered. That night, as the stars twinkled in the sky, the village gathered to celebrate. Amara was radiant, dancing and laughing with her friends, but as midnight approached, an eerie hush fell over the festivities. Suddenly, a chill swept through the air, and Amara noticed Tunde was nowhere to be found. Panic surged within her as she searched for him among the crowd, but he had vanished without a trace. Determined to find Tunde, Amara set out into the night, following a faint whisper in the wind that seemed to call her name. The villagers were asleep, and the moon cast an eerie glow on the path ahead. As she made her way toward the Aro Mountains, doubt gnawed at her heart. What if she could not find him? What if she was too late? But the thought of Tunde in danger spurred her on. As Amara reached the base of the mountains, she felt a sense of foreboding wash over her. The trees loomed tall and dark, and the wind whispered secrets she couldn't understand. The mountains had always been a place of mystery, filled with stories of spirits and curses. Amara had heard tales of those who had ventured into the mountains and never returned. But she was not afraid. She had to find Tunde. The higher Amara climbed, the more the landscape changed. The lush greenery of the forest gave way to barren rock and sharp cliffs. The air grew colder, and the wind howled through the narrow mountain passes. Each step felt heavier, but Amara pressed on, her thoughts focused on Tunde. She pictured his strong figure, imagining him trapped somewhere in these mountains, waiting for her. The wind continued to whisper her name, and with each call, her determination grew stronger. But as the sun began to set, the shadows around her deepened, and the mountains took on a more menacing shape. Jagged rocks jutted out from the sides of the cliffs like the teeth of a great beast. Amara's heart raced as the shadows seemed to move, almost as if they were alive. The wind had shifted, no longer carrying the soft whispers she had heard earlier. Instead, it howled fiercely, drowning out her thoughts and filling her with unease. She stopped to rest, leaning against a boulder, but her eyes were drawn to a dark cave in the distance. The cave seemed to beckon her, its entrance hidden in the shadows. Could Tunde be inside? Amara hesitated, fear gripping her chest. She had heard stories of people who ventured into the mountains, only to be swallowed by the darkness, never to return. But what choice did she have? If Tunde was in danger, she had to find him. Gathering her courage, Amara stood up and slowly made her way toward the cave, her heart pounding with every step. As Amara stepped into the cave, the temperature dropped sharply, and a chill ran down her spine. The air inside was damp and cold, and the walls were slick with moisture. The cave was eerily silent, except for the sound of her footsteps echoing off the stone. She held her knife tightly, her only source of protection, and moved cautiously deeper into the darkness. The further she went, the louder the echoes became, bouncing off the walls in a disorienting rhythm. Each sound seemed to grow closer, as if something was following her. Her breath came in short gasps as her nerves tightened. She whispered Tunde's name, hoping for a response, but only her voice echoed back at her. The darkness in the cave felt alive, shifting and swirling around her like a living thing. Her mind raced with fear. What if she wasn't alone in this cave? What if something was watching her from the shadows? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but she forced herself to keep moving forward. Suddenly, Amara heard a faint sound up ahead, something that wasn't her own echo. It was a low, rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat pulsing in the darkness. Her heart leaped with hope. Could it be Tunde? She quickened her pace, following the sound deeper into the cave. As she moved closer, the thumping grew louder, and her pulse quickened in response. She had to find him, and she had to do it quickly. Amara turned a corner in the cave, and the sight before her made her gasp. In the center of a large chamber, bathed in the faint glow of moonlight filtering through a crack in the ceiling, stood a figure. At first, she thought it was Tunde, but as she stepped closer, her heart sank. The figure was tall and cloaked in darkness, its features obscured by shadow. It was not Tunde, it was something else, something ancient and powerful. The thumping sound that had drawn her into the cave was coming from this figure, its chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. Amara froze, her legs trembling with fear. The figure turned its head toward her, and though she couldn't see its face, she felt its gaze pierce through her. The air in the cave grew heavy, pressing down on her like a weight. The figure took a step toward her, and Amara's instincts screamed at her to run. But she couldn't move. The figure raised a hand, and with it came a voice that echoed in her mind, not from the wind, but from deep within her soul. You seek the hunter, but you must first face the truth. The words sent a chill through her. Amara's mind raced. What truth was this figure speaking of? Her legs finally obeyed her, and she took a step back, her knife trembling in her hand. The figure didn't follow her, but its presence filled the chamber, suffocating and powerful. Who are you? She whispered, her voice barely audible. The figure's only response was a deep, resonant laugh that echoed through the cave. You will learn soon enough. Amara. Amara fled from the cave, her heart pounding in her chest. The figure's words echoed in her mind, confusing and terrifying her. What truth did she need to face? What did this creature want with her? She stumbled out into the open air, gasping for breath as the cold wind hit her face. The Aro Mountains loomed above her, their peaks bathed in the pale light of the moon. The village of Soma felt so far away, a distant memory from another life. She collapsed on the ground, her body shaking with fear and exhaustion. The journey was taking its toll on her, both physically and mentally. She had come here to find Tunde, but now she was entangled in something much bigger, something that went beyond her understanding. The figure in the cave had spoken of the truth, but what did that mean? Amara's thoughts turned back to the stories she had heard as a child, the tales of curses, spirits, and sacrifices made in the mountains. Could this all be connected to her beauty? Amara looked at her reflection in a small pool of water nearby. Her face, once admired by all, now looked pale and haggard. Her beauty had always been her greatest asset, but now it felt like a curse. Could it be that her beauty was tied to whatever was happening in these mountains? And if so, what price would she have to pay to save Tunde? The wind whispered again, but this time, the words were clearer, beauty is a burden. As Amara ventured further into the mountains, the symbols became more frequent and intricate. They glowed faintly in the dim light, casting an eerie glow on the rocky path. Her heart pounded in her chest as she continued her journey, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her from the shadows. She could feel its presence, a cold, heavy weight that seemed to press down on her from all sides. Suddenly, the path opened up into a wide clearing, and there, in the center of the clearing, stood a massive stone altar. The altar was ancient, weathered by time, and covered in the same glowing symbols she had seen on the rocks. But what caught her attention most was the figure standing beside the altar, an ethereal being made of light and shadow. Its form was indistinct, constantly shifting and changing, but its presence was undeniable. This was the spirit of the mountain. Amara approached the spirit cautiously, her heart racing with both fear and curiosity. She had heard tales of the mountain spirits before, but she had never expected to encounter one. The spirit turned its gaze toward her, and its voice echoed in her mind, soft yet powerful. "You have come seeking answers, child of Soma," it said. "But the answers you seek may not be the ones you desire." Amara swallowed hard, her mouth dry. "I'm looking for Tunde, the hunter. He disappeared, and I need to find him. Please, tell me where he is." The spirit remained silent for a moment, as though considering her request. Then, it spoke again. "Tunde is bound by the same curse that binds you. His fate is tied to yours, and only by understanding the truth can you hope to save him." Amara felt a cold shiver run down her spine. What truth? What was the curse? The spirit gestured toward the altar, and Amara's eyes widened as she noticed something lying on the stone. It was a mirror, intricately carved and shimmering with a soft light. The spirit continued, "This mirror holds the truth of your beauty, Amara. It reflects not just what the world sees, but also what lies within." Amara hesitated, fear gripping her heart. What if the mirror showed her something terrible? But deep down, she knew she had to look. She had to understand her beauty and the burden it carried. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer to the altar and reached for the mirror. As her fingers brushed the surface of the mirror, images began to swirl before her eyes. She saw herself, beautiful, admired, loved. But then the image shifted, and she saw herself alone, trapped in darkness, her beauty twisted into something sinister. She gasped, stepping back in shock. The mirror revealed her shadow self, a version of herself that craved power and control, willing to hurt others to get what she desired. Tears filled her eyes as she realized the truth. Her beauty had become a weapon, both admired and feared. The spirit's voice echoed in her mind. "To save Tunde, you must embrace all that you are, the light and the dark. Only then can you break the curse that binds you both." Amara felt a surge of determination. She had to face her fears and accept the truth of her beauty. With renewed courage, she took a deep breath and returned to the mirror, ready to confront her shadow self. As she gazed into the mirror once more, she saw her reflection begin to change. The shadow self stepped forward, its eyes filled with anger and sadness. "You think you can control me? You think you can ignore me?" it sneered. Amara felt fear grip her heart, but she stood her ground. "I won't ignore you. You are a part of me, and I accept you. But I will not let you control my life." The shadow self paused, surprise flickering in its eyes. Amara continued, "I am beautiful, but I am also flawed. I have made mistakes, and I have hurt others. I acknowledge that darkness, but I choose to embrace the light within me." The shadow self seemed to waver, and the air around them crackled with energy. Amara could feel the power of her words resonating in the chamber. Slowly, the shadow began to fade, merging back into her reflection. As the last traces of her shadow self disappeared, the spirit spoke again. "You have embraced your truth, Amara. Now you can break the curse that binds you and Tunde." A beam of light shot from the mirror, enveloping her in warmth. The energy surged through her, filling her with strength and purpose. She felt a deep connection to the mountains and the spirit, as if they were guiding her home. With newfound clarity, Amara raced back through the mountains, the wind at her back urging her onward. The path seemed clearer now, illuminated by the light of the truth she had accepted. As she neared the village of Soma, the familiar sights and sounds filled her with hope. She knew Tunde was waiting for her, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. When she reached the village, she found it in turmoil. The villagers were gathered, their faces filled with worry. Amara rushed toward them, calling out, "Tunde! Where is he?" Her heart raced as she scanned the crowd. But before she could panic, she spotted him, standing at the edge of the village, looking lost and disoriented. Relief flooded through her as she rushed into his arms. Tunde held her tightly, and she could feel the warmth of his love radiating through her. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered, his voice filled with emotion. Amara looked into his eyes, filled with tears of joy and fear. "We were caught in a curse, Tunde, but I found the truth. We can break it together." With the villagers watching, Amara and Tunde stepped forward. She shared the story of her journey, of the spirit, and the mirror. The villagers listened in awe, their worries slowly fading as they realized the power of Amara's journey. The curse was not just hers, it belonged to the entire village, bound by fear and misunderstanding of beauty and darkness. Together, they performed a ritual under the stars, embracing the light and the dark, acknowledging their fears and hopes. As they stood in a circle, holding hands, a warm light enveloped them, breaking the chains of the curse that had held them captive for so long. The air shimmered with energy, and they could feel the mountains around them shift and change, releasing the burdens of the past. The villagers rejoiced, their laughter ringing through the night as they celebrated their freedom. Amara and Tunde stood at the center, hand in hand, knowing that their love had conquered the darkness. The mountains had transformed from a place of fear into a symbol of strength and unity. Amara smiled, her heart full of hope, realizing that her beauty was indeed a blessing, a gift that could bring people together. As the stars shone brightly overhead, Amara turned to Tunde, their eyes filled with understanding. "Together, we can face anything," she said softly. He nodded, his gaze steady. "Yes, my love. We will always find our way home." And as they walked back to the village, the whispers in the wind carried their story far and wide, a tale of courage, acceptance, and the beauty of the human spirit. Thank you for watching The Hunter's Bride. This story teaches us that love and beauty are not just what we see, but the sacrifices we make for those we care about. What did you learn from Amara's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this tale of love, sacrifice, and mystery, please like this video, leave a comment about what resonated with you, and share it with your friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting African tales. Keep an eye out for our next story. Bye, and see you in the next video.